Let's try to make sense of the Haason Reddick thing here. There's a lot to unpack, but just tell me this. From what you understand, when they did the deal to get him from Philly, and remember the moving parts, everyone at home, Bryce Huff had been signed by the Eagles, younger. They gave him a nice bag. Haason Reddick getting older, wants to get paid, all that. Did the Jets have an understanding that either A, they would give him a new deal, or B, that he wouldn't show up without one? Because you would hope that conversation was had.
Yeah, it was addressed. Obviously, it wasn't addressed to a satisfactory level. And I think there was confidence on both sides that they'd be able to work something out. And obviously, that hasn't happened. And I think what's important to look at here, Andrew, is that this is a guy who's been a really good player for a very long time, who's now in his 30s, who has never scored that massive deal. So I think to some degree, because of that, he's always been chasing it. Now, that's not saying he hasn't gotten rich. He has. He's made a lot of money, should be set for life, all of that. But, a lot of times with guys like this, if you haven't been compensated the way you think you think you should be compensated, then you become a little bit more militant about getting what you feel like you're worth. And one of the tricky things about the way pass rushers are played is there's these huge gaps, right? So Bryce Huff, who I think is going to be a double-digit sack guy for the Eagles, who the Jets thought was their most natural pass rusher last year, right, gets $17 million per. Meanwhile, Danielle Hunter is making $29 million per in Houston, and Nick Bosa is making $34 million per in San Francisco. So I'm not saying that Haason Reddick is Hunter, or certainly he's not Bosa, but it's probably hard for him to swallow, like, the idea that he's less than half of what those guys are monetarily. So now what sort of raise are we talking about, right? And this is the nitty-gritty stuff that I think could have been addressed and probably should have been addressed more aggressively. But when you're looking to get a deal done at that time of year, sometimes it can't be addressed. And, again, I think, a lot of this is a product of where the market went. And I think it's certainly fair to put some blame on the Jets here for not foreseeing the problem based on the deals that were already out there for other players.
Yeah, and the market obviously gets in everyone's heads as well. It should, And to your point,
just think about it, Andrew. Like that's the thing. Is just think about that, right? Like, if I'm Haason Reddick and I feel like I've been underpaid for the balance of my career, I'm not looking at Bryce Huff's deal. I'm looking at Nick Bosa's deal, and I'm saying, okay, like maybe I'm not Nick Bosa, but am I 50% of them? Yes. Am I 60% of them? Yes. And start to do that math. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're that player, that's the way that you're going to be thinking about it. And you're probably going to look at it at what, 14 and change, I think is the number. I don't have it in front of him now, and be like, I'm making like 40% of the top of the market. What are we even talking about here? I'm not worth more, So it'll be interesting to see like how they find some middle ground here, especially if they're not willing to add years to the deal.
And it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. But you look at the market, if you're Brandon Ayuk, if you're CeeDee Lamb, and you see what Justin Jefferson got, or you see what A.J. Brown got at 32.5. You see the Tyreek, they kind of fudged the numbers a little bit there, but he was, that massive deal. He was never going to see the 45 next year. He's going to make 19 in cash this year. And everyone says, look at the market. Let's get my thing done.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.